Karoline Leavitt is leaving the White House right now. When I heard it, my antenna went all the way up because Karoline had a baby in May. Then she came back.
Well, now Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt is officially back from maternity leave. Karoline, I'm so excited to sit down.
By the end of August. And she's going to be one of Trump's top advisors. She came back from maternity leave in July. And now she has resigned as the press secretary and she's going to be out. Now, normally I would say, girl, go on ahead home and enjoy your babies. Except this is Washington, D.C. Coincidences in D.C. are like $3 rent. I don't believe in either. Because, see, right before this, Todd Blanche, the new attorney general, had put out this memo. And in the memo, he said certain conversations that top advisors have with the president, they are covered by executive privilege. Well, ain't that convenient? Karoline ain't leaving the kitchen. They're just moving her from the front counter to the back room where the recipes are kept. And with the midterms coming, my question is this. Are they rearranging the furniture because they're concerned that somebody might come looking through the house? And then whoever replaces Karoline, honey. See, I don't think that Karoline Leavitt was lying hard enough. I think they need somebody with a stronger resume and alternative facts. So what do y'all think? Family decision, political strategy, legal strategy, or is it all three? Let's talk about it.
You're a left-wing hack. Here are the facts. President Trump did nothing wrong. We are going to hold those lies accountable. He also is the most transparent president in history. Good afternoon, everybody.
What did the president mean when he called reporter piggy?
Look, the president is very frank and honest with everyone in this room. You've all seen it yourself. You've all experienced it yourselves. And I think it's one of the many reasons that the American people reelected this president, because of
Big reaction to White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt stepping down to focus more on raising her two young children. Now the big question is, who will fill her shoes?
Speculation is rampant today over who will replace Karoline Leavitt.
Who do you think should replace her?
TV pundit.
Okay, just watch this. Karoline Leavitt is departing as White House press secretary at month's end, one of Trump's most trusted aides, to spend time with her beautiful young children after just having a baby. Trump fully respects the choice and says she'll become a top outside advisor and powerful Republican voice as they fight to win the midterms and define history. She led brilliantly, delivered a phenomenal job, and ranks among the greatest press secretaries ever, the single most accessible, granting digital media more White House access than anyone in American history.
his frankness, and he calls out fake news when he sees it.
Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. I did not say the documents are a hoax. I said the entire narrative surrounding Jeffrey Epstein right now that is absorbing many of the liberal cable channels on television is a hoax that is being perpetuated by opportunistic Democrats. Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my
Yeah.
opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed it unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist. And it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat.
Serving was the honor and adventure of a lifetime, a historic win for holding liberal media accountable. Motherhood comes first. Yet she'll keep fighting for Trump from outside against Democrats and communists threatening America. Her record is pure fire. She crushed biased reporters, branded left-wing hacks posing as journalists. Reminded everyone Obama honored the ICE hardliner, proved Trump right on the Wuhan lab, while the room mocked him, exposed Nancy Pelosi's outrageous stock gains, and shredded New York Times hypocrisy that attacked Trump's fitness after coddling Biden. Exposed Nancy Pelosi's outrageous stock gains and shredded New York Times hypocrisy that attacked Trump's fitness after coddling Biden.
Karoline Leavitt finally made an honest man of her baby daddy in January 2025, days before Donald Trump was inaugurated for the second time. And as soon as that happened, she became the youngest press secretary in history. She helped assuage people's discomfort with her age gap marriage and her youth by immediately visibly aging 15 years.
During her first press conference, Leavitt got off to a roaring start, defending Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, for cutting waste. One particular program she spotlighted included that the government was spending 50 million taxpayer dollars to fund condoms in Gaza.
Now, fact checkers and thing knowers were puzzled by this claim. What on earth could she be going on about? And then a few days later, it became clear the funds weren't going to buy condoms for Palestinian rebels. The Gaza she was alluding to was actually the Gaza province in Mozambique, which is about 5,000 miles away from the nearest member of Hamas. And the $50 million was earmarked for generalized STI prevention, not specifically condoms.
So the entire thing was both stupid and a lie.
Yes. Combining stupidity and lying are kind of her trademark. Like when she claimed that the White House is a champion of the First Amendment at the same time that her boss has called for TV networks to have their licenses revoked and threatened the legal status of people critical of Israel.
Remember how she had the Associated Press's credentials revoked because they refused to refer to the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America after President Trump said he wanted to rename it?
Pepperidge Farm remembers. She claimed that Trump is the hardest working man in politics despite golfing at every opportunity.
She really went to the mat for Trump's very stupid tariffs plan, even after people who can do math pointed out that the math behind them didn't make any sense. And when called out for being an idiot, she wraps herself in righteous indignation.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have. They don't get charged on foreign companies. They get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president.
The White House made calls to congressional leadership. They were bipartisan calls. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries couldn't be reached. We tried him before the strike and he didn't pick up the phone, but he was briefed after, as well as Chuck Schumer was briefed prior to the strike. So this notion that CNN ran with at the White House did not give a heads up to Democrats is just completely false. In fact, both Senator Schumer's office and CNN had to retract that story last night because it was a blatant lie. And we showed them the timestamps from those phone calls. But
guess what? We are in a critical time. Trump is panicking after Karoline Leavitt resigns from being press secretary in the White House. She has been defending Donald every time. She has been fixing his mess. But
I want to ask you, is it MAGA to support American workers being replaced with H-1B visa holders? Are Americans not capable of filling most of these positions?
Who supports getting American workers getting replaced?
I know the president mentioned that he wanted to bring in some workers that he could eventually send back in regards to...
The president does not support American workers being replaced. You are mischaracterizing what the president said. The president wants to see our American manufacturing industry be revitalized better than ever before. That's part of what he's doing with his effective use of tariffs and cutting good trade deals around the world. That's why he's recruited trillions and trillions of dollars in investments into our country. Those are creating good paying American jobs right here at home. As for the H-1B visa issue, the president has a very nuanced and common sense opinion on this issue. He wants to see if foreign companies are investing trillions of dollars in the United States of America and they're bringing foreign workers with them to create very niche things like batteries. He wants to see that at the beginning to get those manufacturing facilities and those factories up and running. But ultimately, the president always wants to see American workers in those jobs. And he's told these foreign companies that are investing here, you better be hiring my people if you're going to be doing business in the United States. So there's been a lot of misunderstanding of the president's position.
Listen to this. When illegal aliens go to emergency room, who is paying for it? And she uses the same language like her boss. Watch this. After, watch Donald.
So when a legal alien goes to the emergency room, who's paying for it? The American taxpayer.
She almost gets it. When an illegal alien, she says, goes to the emergency room, who's paying for it? The American taxpayer. And she's almost stumbling across a really important aspect of this. When anyone without insurance goes to the ER, Americans pay for it. Doesn't matter if they're documented or undocumented. That's why we've been saying for decades, give everybody health care, because using the emergency room as your primary care is really expensive for everybody. Now, you might say, well, but David, that's only because the ER legally has to treat people. Just allow ERs to send people away if they're undocumented or don't have coverage or whatever. Think about that for a second. If hospitals could refuse care based on ability to pay or immigration status, first of all, it lets people die in waiting rooms. Like, it allows letting people die in waiting rooms. You're at the hospital. This is the place where they can do stuff to save your life. But we're going to check immigration status, ability to pay, and just let some people die in the waiting room. That's something, as a rich country, we're going to be okay with. What kind of sick moral code allows that? Someone having a heart attack, a pregnant woman in labor, a kid with appendicitis. If they can't prove insurance or citizenship, let them die in the waiting room. That is a death lottery. That's not a healthcare system. The reason that ERs are required to treat and stabilize people is because before 1986, hospitals actually did dump patients. They would send poor people or uninsured people in taxis to specific public hospitals, or get rid of them mid-crisis. And so Congress stepped in and said, this is the United States of America. If you show up, we must stabilize you immediately and deal with the paperwork later. There's very few moral lines in our system that still hold. That one still holds, and it's a good one. As far as immigration status, think about that. An ER nurse needs to now investigate the immigration status of people. They're bleeding out. When did you come here? Are you from the United States or not? Do you have a passport? Oh, you're having a heart attack? Where's your...
Mr. President, undocumented immigrants...
We actually do have time for that.
They're not eligible for the health care subsidies that Democrats are demanding. So can you clarify, what are you talking about when you say Democrats want to protect their health care?
So when an illegal person comes in, a person who came into our country illegally, therefore breaking the law, and look, we all have big hearts. I have a bigger heart than you do. They're all breaking the law, and they're coming into our country. And we just, as a country, cannot afford to take care of millions of people who have broken the law coming in. We want them to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. Now we have a strong border, very strong border, thanks to Christie and Tom Homan and the whole group. They've done an amazing job at the border. I mean, we had a border that was reckless. We had a border that was a disaster. They were coming in by the millions. I say 25 million people. You're saying less, but I say 25 million people came in illegally. And no system can take care of the health care of all of those people that came in. If you call them people, I don't know if you call them people. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion, but I'm not allowed to say that because the radical left says that's a terrible thing to say. They say you have to vote against him because did you hear what he said about humanity? I've seen the humanity, and these are bad, these are animals, okay?
Right now is begging for her not to leave. Okay, let us get it right. Do you think this lady wouldn't get a caretaker to look after her family?
It's one of the most visible jobs in the federal government, the White House press secretary. With Karoline Leavitt's imminent departure to spend more time with her family and new baby, there's been all sorts of names thrown around as possible replacements. Among them, Alina Habba, a longtime Trump ally who has served as Trump's legal counsel and is leading the pack in several prediction markets. Another possibility, one that I think would fit the fighting personality that Trump is looking for, is Kari Lake, the former television news anchor who was nominated to become the U.S. ambassador to Jamaica, and she knows how the media works and could prove to be an effective megaphone for Trump. Another name frequently mentioned is Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, who currently hosts a podcast and has experience dealing with the press after serving as communications director for former Vice President Mike Pence and previously as his press secretary. Don't count out Spencer Pratt, the Trump-like reality star personality who failed to advance the Los Angeles mayoral general election by finishing third in the primaries. And lastly, Scott Jennings, the CNN commentator who is a fierce conservative defender and might be just the right person for the job, but I doubt he'll want it as he has a cushy private sector gig right now. As you know, the president loves to keep everyone guessing, and don't be surprised if the person he picks is none of the above. He sure loves surprises. Who do you think will replace Leavitt? I'd love to hear from you.
Listen to this. You remember when Caroline's nephew was arrested and detained by ICE? Watch this.
Have you had a chance to talk to Karoline Leavitt?
No.
I mean, what would you say to her? I guess I'm still stunned by the fact that you chose her to be your son's godmother, right?
Over
I mean,
my
you had
sister.
it over your own sister.
Over my sister.
And now all of this is happening. I mean, what do you have to say to her?
I think what I would have to say to Karoline is just because you went to a Catholic school doesn't make you a good Catholic. You know, you're a mother. You are a mother now, and you should know, how would you feel if you were in my shoes? You know, how would you feel if somebody did this to you? Because at the end of the day, nobody's above the law. You know, it could happen to anybody. So I can't wrap my mind around it. And hopefully there's a logical explanation for all of this.
Karoline Leavitt is stepping down as White House press secretary, leaving everyone to ask the same question. Who's going to lie for Trump now? For all her many faults, Karoline Leavitt was the perfect first line of defense for the Trump administration, showing a preternatural ability to both get angry at honest questions and lie.
Because you're a left-wing hack, you're not a reporter, you're posing in this room as a journalist. Of course the president supports peaceful protest. What a stupid question. There was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza.
And whoever takes over for her will need to be able to get angry and lie just as proficiently. One of the leading contenders so far is CNN mainstay Scott Jennings, who's already puckering up in preparation.
Karoline Leavitt has been maybe the greatest White House press secretary in the last 30 years.
Best press secretary of the last 30 years? Somebody clearly wasn't paying attention to the mooch. Now, while Scott Jennings is pretty good at keeping his cool with that patented punchable smirk of his, he has shown that he can lean into the anger as well.
Now you're making condescending remarks because you can't defend the fact that this war is not going your way. Wait, one more time.
Not going your
name
way.
one political
Get your
concession.
fucking hand out of my
Name
face
one political
first.
concession.
Luckily, though, if chosen, it's unlikely that Scott Jennings would have to answer any questions about the war in Iran, so he should be safe there. And as for lying, well, I can't exactly confirm whether his 20-minute call with Mitch McConnell was total BS, but it is suspicious, because Mitch never mentioned it to me when I called him.
Do you think he'd be willing to call into the show? Could we get him on the phone now?
You know, I wasn't really expecting him to call this morning, to be honest.
Another reported frontrunner for the position is Alina Habba, who already has some experience from her time as Trump's legal spokesperson throughout his many criminal trials.
I am so proud to stand with President Trump, but I am not proud to stand with what I saw in that courtroom.
Ms. Huber is the
I'm not finished. Let me just finish and I'll take questions, please.
Don't interrupt her during her clearly rehearsed monologue. She's using it to audition for the spring play. So she's got the performative anger down, but like any great speaker, she's not immune to a few small gaffes here and there.
That's, I think, why people get nervous with Trump. He doesn't do what's popular or what's right. I should say he only does what's right. If he's given a fair court, if he's not in Manhattan, which is a completely blue state.
In all fairness, how can anybody remember that New York City is a city? Plus, she already tried and failed to be U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey, so she's open for business. Another potential frontrunner is Breitbart journalist Matthew Boyle, whose groundbreaking reporting on the White House includes exclusive stories like, how did Donald Trump come up with the term Democrats? Real hard-hitting stuff. Whoever gets chosen, they'll need a quick mind and a sharp wit if they want to continue the important work of constantly pivoting to talking about the White House ballroom.
Trump posted, but he definitely did not write. He described how Caroline is going to take some time to work with her family, but that she has been his most trusted advisor. She absolutely wrote this. And I'm going to be honest with you. She lasted way longer than I thought she would initially because, you know, these types of folks don't last long in these roles for Trump. But then I heard Trump talk about how much he enjoys watching her do the job. And those lips get to moving so fast. And I just love watching those lips. And I was like, oh, this is much more of a Rupert Murdoch Fox News thing than it is her competency in work and her job thing. So as she is making that exit, I was like, okay, great. You had the baby. We all thought maternity leave might be the off-ramp, but she made it back from maternity leave. But then the story broke about Trump being transported in a catering cart from Air Force One into a backup plane when they were leaving the NATO summit in Turkey, and how no one really knew that this was happening, and almost no one on the team knew that there was an imminent.
Some big changes will be coming to the White House next month when White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt leaves her role. She cited wanting to spend more time with her family and children. She made this announcement in a post to social media. A quick refresher, though, Leavitt gave birth to her second child back in May of this year. Her connection to President Trump goes back years. She started off as an aide in the press office during President Trump's first term, then later became a spokesperson for a pro-Trump group and joined the president's campaign back in 2024. President Trump saying moving forward, Leavitt could work as an outside advisor for him as well as the Republican Party. But this also brings up the big question: who could fill the role of Leavitt as the next White House press secretary? President Trump could go two ways with this. He could go within the inside White House circle, go with someone like Anna Kelly, who's the deputy press secretary right now and works under Leavitt as we speak. Stephen Chung is the current White House communications director, no stranger to social media and a very combative ally of the president. But President Trump could also go outside of the White House right now and go with someone like Carrie Lake, who he nominated to be ambassador to Japan, but is also a former TV news anchor, no stranger to TV cameras and high-pressure situations. It's going to be really interesting, though, to see who President Trump goes with here. This is not an easy job. You are the face of the White House communications effort, doing high-stakes press briefings, taking hard-hitting questions from the media. You're going on international trips, leading the communications effort for the White House. So not an easy job to step into when Karoline Leavitt leaves the White House secretary job next month.
I noticed that some wags on social media yesterday were wondering if Karoline Leavitt had decided that she was going to leave the administration because 24 hours earlier she had learnt that she was flown back from Turkey on board the plane that President Donald Trump was not on, and therefore may have concluded that she was considered disposable by the President of the United States along with half of his government. But not his former golf caddy. Not his former golf caddy, the social media woman, the woman who does all of the Truth Social, and Pete Hegseth. They were the only ones that were on board the decoy plane. She has been an unbelievably effective communicator for him. She has lied relentlessly from that podium on his behalf. But the most important thing that I think she's done is purge the White House briefing room, and particularly the White House pool, of a large number of what she argues are legacy media figures and replace them with propagandists. And so when you realise that the Associated Press, America's leading news agency, was penalised by the White House because it refused to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. That was on her watch. She's changed the nature of the press operation at the White House in ways that previously were completely unthinkable.
Karoline Leavitt, I'm so embarrassed for her, but that poor, you know what? Bless her heart, because that's got to be really embarrassing to go up on that podium every single week, being a bitch to every single person that asks her a question that she did not like, for that man, lying for that man, only to be left on a plane that could possibly be taken down. That's embarrassing. That has to be really hard to finally realize that that man that you've been literally defending to the point of ruining your reputation, literally doesn't give two shits about you. That's sad. Well, concepts of thoughts and prayers to you, girl.
President supports peaceful protest. What a stupid question. Because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist. You shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. He was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. That's a ridiculous line of questioning. He believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state. It's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country.
Thanks to President Trump and Republicans and common sense policies across the board, our country is safer, our country is more affordable, allowing...
All right, folks, I hope you're sitting down for this one. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, who is almost as dishonest as her boss, Donald Trump, but is actually a hell of a lot smoother when it comes to delivering those lies, just dropped a doozy on Fox News, claiming that because of Donald Trump, the United States is safer and more affordable. I will repeat that. Karoline Leavitt just told Fox News that because of Donald Trump, the United States is safer and more affordable, even as we're in the midst of a war that's claimed the lives of 18 American service members and is so dangerous that Trump had to secretly escape Air Force One, which we just did a video about, and is also triggering an inflationary crisis, making gas and groceries more expensive. As we're in the midst of all that because of Trump, somehow we're safer and things are more affordable. We have to talk about this. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please, as we speak, give me 3 free clicks: the like, subscribe, and alert notifications. Not only will it tell you the next time I publish a video, it tells the YouTube gods to recommend this video and this channel to other people, maybe even people like you. We want to spread the word, don't we? Speaking of words and spreading words, let's go to Karoline Leavitt. Karoline Leavitt claims our country is safer and more affordable because of Donald Trump. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt told Fox News host Sean Hannity that because of Donald Trump, quote, our country is safer and, quote, more affordable. The conversation came during a segment on Hannity where the host was talking about the upcoming midterm elections and urging his viewers to vote because, quote, your vote will be the only thing to stop this looming threat of communism and socialism in our country. There is no looming threat of communism and socialism in this country. There just isn't. You have people on the left and the right suggesting that this is the case. There's just no evidence for it whatsoever. Even if you regard the Democratic Socialists of America as outright communist, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, they will be, I think, fewer than 10 in the House of Representatives, and they're already having to walk back the most extreme views of the national DSA platform. There is no impending threat of communism or socialism in this country, but of course it plays really well to the MAGA base on Fox News, and it's a recurring theme because this is something that Sean Hannity and Fox News and other people on the right have claimed for decades about the Democratic Party. Don't vote for Bill Clinton. He's about to bring in communism. Holy shit, don't vote for Barack Obama. He's about to bring in communism and Islam, radical Islam. Holy shit, don't vote for Hillary Clinton. She's about to bring in communism and estrogen. We can't have that, right? Don't vote for Joe Biden, well-known communist. Don't vote for Kamala Harris.
Karoline Leavitt is trading this podium behind me for more of a personal life. The White House press secretary's shock announcement she's stepping down kicked off questions about who exactly could fill her shoes. Among those floated, Jason Miller, a longtime Trump communicator, is said to be taking the lead on press operations. Leavitt's principal deputy, Anna Kelly, could also be next in line. Though sources in the White House told me Trump is more likely to pick someone from outside the building. That could include someone like Homeland Security's former press secretary, Katie Zachariah, a favorite of the president's, or CNN's Scott Jennings. Sources said his gravitas made him a popular choice to take on the job. But most surprising of all is Director of U.S. Federal Housing Bill Pulte's name even thrown into the mix. While a source told me Susie Wiles would never go for it, he's considered one of Trump's most loyal aides. Leavitt herself has not publicly weighed in on who she thinks should replace her, but all eyes will be on the White House to see who will step up to the podium.
Thank you, Caroline. Sure. Regarding the president's speech tonight, he's been in office over 540 days now. If what he says is tonight is backed up by evidence, why hasn't anyone been charged?
Well, he hasn't revealed it yet. He hasn't declassified the documents yet, and you will see what he says tonight, and then we'll move forward appropriately from there.
Tonight from the Justice Department?
I don't speak on behalf of the Justice Department, Caitlin. You know that.
Like,
Rachel.
by evidence, will there be charges?
You'll have to ask the Justice Department. I don't charge people. I just speak on behalf of the president.
To be honest with you, I didn't think that KKK Caroline was going to come back after maternity leave. When she came back, I said, I know it is only a matter of time before she'll be out of here. And well, would you look at this here. This girl doesn't want to spend more time with that baby. If she wanted to spend more time with her baby, why the hell did she even have this job in the first place? What about that other baby she got? She knows that this is a sinking ship. They all know it's a sinking ship. That's why they're scrambling to do everything they can to make sure that Trump doesn't go to jail. They think that we're going to forget about them when the trials start? Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, KKK Caroline, baby, we're coming for all of y'all when it's time. I don't care how many executive orders or memorandum Donald Trump and Todd Blanche and Mikey Johnson put together to try to stop what's coming. It's coming, and they know it. The only question is, Which dummy do you think you're gonna get to replace her? Who's gonna fall for the okie doke?
This is a breaking news alert. Karoline Leavitt has resigned. Donald Trump's press secretary, who I refer to as his chief propagandist, has resigned moments ago. Here's how we're reporting it on the Midas Touch website. Karoline Leavitt, known for pushing lies and gaslighting the public from the briefing room podium, one of the biggest liars in a regime full of massive liars, will be leaving her job at the end of the month. I'll show you Donald Trump's post. I'll show you Karoline Leavitt's post. It should be noted that her post, which purports to include photos of her and Donald Trump, has been flagged by Elon Musk's platform as being made with AI. So even with her resignation announcement, apparently posting AI images to cover up Donald Trump's physical and cognitive deterioration. We'll get to that in a moment. But Donald Trump says that he will be making her a constant advisor even when she leaves. Why is he saying that he's going to make her a private advisor? Well, think about the opinion that Todd Blanche issued earlier this week from the Department of Justice, saying that any communications between Donald Trump and anyone he deems to be an advisor will be subject to executive privilege, and the Trump regime will not let them testify when Democrats take control of the House. I want to connect that point right there. So when you're like, why is he saying she's a private advisor? That's what he's going to do to everybody. He's going to deputize them as private advisors. And then when Democrats subpoena them, they're going to say executive privilege. We can't answer any questions because they're crooks, because they're crooked, and because they're liars, and they're weak, and they're cowards. Here's what Donald Trump posted moments ago. Our wonderful White House press secretary and one of my most trusted aides, Karoline Leavitt, will be departing her role at the end of the month so she can spend more time with her beautiful young children and family, a decision I totally understand and respect. Karoline will now be one of my top outside advisors and an influential voice within the Republican Party as we work to defy history and conclusively win the midterm elections. Karoline has been a real leader in the White House and has done a phenomenal job fighting for justice, liberty, and freedom since 2018, including our historic re-election campaign of 2024. Karoline has been one of the best White House press secretaries in the history of the office. Thank you, Karoline, for a job well done. Donald J. Trump, let's be clear. She's probably the worst press secretary ever. She lies literally about everything, and her deranged lies, in my opinion, have led to the deaths of many, many people throughout the world. Her lies kill, just like the lies of this regime that she spreads. Here's what she posted that was flagged as made with AI. Again, this photo of her and Donald Trump, made with AI. Serving as the White House press secretary over the past year has been an honor and an adventure, blah, 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 blah. Most of all, I'm thankful for Trump with entrusting me with the distinct privilege of speaking on his behalf at the White House, blah, 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 blah. I have relished holding the liberal media accountable and ensuring the American people hear the truth. Well, I wonder why his approval is the lowest since 1953 based on the latest Pew polling. Great work. Then she says being a mother and welcoming a new baby while working one of the most demanding jobs has been a rewarding challenge. Trump has asked me to continue serving as a top advisor to him on the outside, and I will always remain a vocal advocate for MAGA and the Republican Party. We'll see how long it takes until she becomes a state regime media host.
Apparently that didn't mean the client list was on her desk, but rather that all of the paperwork in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes were on her desk. And if you're thinking to yourself, that doesn't really make sense, you'd be right. It doesn't, because it is a desperate lie. And when you tell lies on top of lies on top of other lies, this is what happened. You're left spinning a web of lies so clearly false that you just sound like an absolute joke. Perhaps this White House might consider, even just once, being honest about literally anything. Also, it's pretty rich hearing Leavitt explain that this DOJ is committed to putting bad people behind bars as it relates to the whole Epstein saga, when Donald Trump literally appointed the prosecutor, Alex Acosta, who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal to his own cabinet in his first term. In 2007, as U.S. Attorney, Acosta approved a plea deal that allowed Epstein to plead guilty to a single charge of solicitation in exchange for a federal non-prosecution agreement. And Trump rewarded that guy with a role as Secretary of Labor in his White House. So let me ask you, do you really think Donald Trump is going to be the guy who gives you all the answers you're looking for when he has surrounded himself by the very people who are responsible for why Epstein has evaded accountability in the first place? This all comes in the aftermath of a bombshell Axios story yesterday revealing, quote, President Trump's Justice Department and FBI have concluded they have no evidence that convicted sex offender and disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed powerful figures, kept a client list, or was murdered, according to a memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios. So apparently, we've got hundreds of victims, tons of evidence, and yet not a single client other than Epstein himself that this administration can point to, despite months and months and months of promises saying the exact opposite. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. It also makes moments like this one back in February all the more ridiculous in retrospect, but explaining that, quote, we have flight logs, information, names that will come out. So was she lying then, or is the White House lying now? Because clearly, there's a major disconnect here. Although perhaps we can ask those right-wing influencers who went to the White House and waved around their little Epstein binders. People like influencers and personalities dangling these promises. And yet, now the whole thing is closed with no further information? So my question becomes, where is all of this promised information? Where are all the smoking guns? Unless these right-wing personalities were lying to their followers back when they made these promises, stringing them along with promises of world-changing news? Is that what they did? Fool the rubes in their base for social media clout? Or was there actually major news that they too are hiding, just like this White House seems to be doing? Because it sure seems like someone was lying. So the question becomes, were they lying before or are they lying now? And of course, we would all be fools to ignore the fact that there are quite a few warning signs that might explain why this White House has a vested interest in keeping this under wraps.
Or do you think Trump can clear all his mess without Karoline? Tell me what you think down in the comment, and thank you for watching the mighty Great Minds Black. See you in the next video. One love.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Black.